Morning, everyone. Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. Continuing on where we left off yesterday on awareness and all that good stuff. Um, you know, um, I was born and raised Catholic, baptized, uh, 11 years of parochial school, and if you wonder why 11 years, because I got kicked out my junior year. They said, do not come back. But anyway, um, I remember my first grade teacher was Sister Enviolata. Oh, just so you know, too, I did go to kindergarten at Encinitas School. That was a public school, which was like four doors from my house. Um, anyways, don't remember much of that other than, drinking milk and taking naps and playing in the schoolyard. They didn't teach us see Jack run, see Jane, fall, see Spot, doing whatever he's doing. I think that was in second grade when I learned that. My first grade teacher was Sister Enviolata. Uh, don't ask me why I remember that, but I just remember lining up on, before school on the west side of the school, and second grade teacher don't remember who she was. Mrs. Benton was my third grade teacher. Oh my goodness gracious, she was mean. She was downright mean. And then the fourth grade is when I had my first girlfriend. I used to walk Cindy Lloyd home from school. She lived down on Olive and Cloverleaf, and I used to carry her books for her, and I could take the bus, but I would walk home. And I was an altar boy too, first, and I did first communion. First communion, I think, was second grade, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, and then fifth grade, Mrs. Libby, Oh, yeah, in fourth grade too, Donna Glaviano. She was a new girl. Oh my goodness, she was absolutely beautiful, you know. But and then I think I'm not sure if confirmation was in seventh grade or whatever. Or maybe it was eighth grade. I don't know. Confirmation where you took a vow that you wouldn't drink or have sex or something like that. Probably broke every one of those rules. Probably God saying, okay, you're gonna spend your time in purgatory before you get to heaven. I learned all the Catholic stuff. Um, and you know and then graduation, it was in the church. The bishop came out and said, God bless you, and get your ass out of here. So um, but all in all, it was a pretty good experience. We had fun. We were hellions. Seventh grade, we had a whole bunch of homeroom teachers. Mr. Arnold was one of them. Mr. Arnold, me and Stan Zielinski, Mr. Arnold took us to go see Robert F. Kennedy at the Greek Theater speak. This was like 2 days before Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated by Saran Saran. But I saw him speak, at the Greek Theater. He was well spoken, and Mr. Arnold, I think he took us under his wing because he thought he was going to make us good Christian, whatever. Well, but we were watching the World Series in September, and I was sitting on the top of my desk, on the top of the chair, not like I was supposed to be, but he said, Barkston, sit down. And I said, yeah, he said, go to the principal's office, so I walked out of the classroom, and I'm thinking to myself, am I going to go to the principal's office and rat myself out? No, I walked around the schoolyard, went to the bathroom, got a drink of water, walked around for like 10, 15 minutes. Nobody said nothing to me, because everybody's in class. And I walked back into class, and he says, did you go to the principal's office? And I said, no. Sit down. So, well, then I went to Don Bosco Technical Institute for 3 years, took automotive, probably had a C average. It was a hard class. It was a hard school. A lot of homework. A lot of homework. Had to do research and looking through the encyclopedias and stuff. We didn't have the internet. But that's basically the school life. Until 25 years out of high school, I decided to get a college education, working for myself, and I was going to become a structural engineer. So I went to PCC and Iron Road and Pasadena City College, and that was fun. That was fun. You go to school because you want to, not because you have to. But the first day of class, those cute little girls comes in, walking in, sits down with a mini dress, and I get a panty shot. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is gonna be tough. And to pay attention to the teacher, and oh man, it was just too much eye candy. But anyway, I'm sorry for looking down. Is there anything good going to come out of this video? Maybe. I'm hoping I'm going to try to get there. We're just talking about awareness. When I was a little kid, awareness is something that is developed, for lack of a better term, and then we have to develop, our senses, and the hole in the gut is the guide. The gut feeling is, when I was drinking and drugging, I was trying to fill that hole in the gut. Being clean and sober, the hole is filled. It is filled, and I am truly blessed, because I was able to find, help. And I'll tell you how I found help. My buddy, he was dealing it, and I went to his house to go score, and his wife says, "Oh, he's not here." I said, "Well, where is he?" And he says, "Oh, he's in the hospital. He was in rehab." I went and visited him in rehab. We had dinner together. The food wasn't that bad. And then he says, "Hey, do you want to go to a meeting, a 12-step meeting?" I said, "No, I got 3 beers in the truck waiting for me, And but a couple months later, I was in the same hospital because it got to the point in my addiction where I couldn't be creative in my lies anymore, And I finally came home one day and I told my wife, I said, I got a problem. And we went to, she went with me to check into the hospital. And we said, "Well, what are you coming in for?" And she says, "Alcohol." And I said, "And cocaine." She had no idea I was doing that much cocaine. She thought I was having an affair. I was, with a white powder. And I did make amends to her. That was one of the toughest things I had to do. And my sponsor, I didn't understand why it hurt so bad to make the amends. And he says, "Well, you're sincere. You mean it." And he says, the way you make amends to the little kids is just stop the behavior. So I am truly blessed. And the kids are victims of a divorce, and I understand that. And I'm truly sorry for that. I got to sneeze. Oh, my thumb. Antibiotics working. When I went to urgent care, they kind of started bleeding, and so I did buy gloves too. And it's early in the morning; it's 3:00 West Coast time, and but for that, I'm gonna do something for somebody else for fun or for free because you want to, with no expectation in return. And if you're in a situation, ask God for help and mean it. Thanks. Talk to you later.